Good morning. This is Philip Koerper. This is the Philip Koerper Show, episode 99, April 15th. This morning I had a colonoscopy, so I might be still a little bit high on propofol, but I'm feeling fairly normal. So who knows? We'll see how this turns out. Probably be just as crazy as ever. I really want to start off and lead off the show talking about Bernie Sanders. Tonight on Fox News, believe it or not, he has a town hall meeting. I saw Shepard Smith, no, it wasn't Shepard Smith. It was the other guy who his co-host is that Smith lady. Oh, I'm blanking on his name on Fox News. He's on earlier. But he had Perez, the DNC chairman, on. And I caught the end of that conversation, and you know, Perez was kind of explaining why they don't want any of the debates to be on Fox News, and basically blaming Fox News for having serious bias problems. I mean, now, you know, and Fox was trying to make the point that their news coverage is trying to be objective, and then they've got their pundits, kind of like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson, and there's a big difference there. And I could see that point. But of course, Fox News is going to, I think just by the nature of the beast, Rupert Murdoch, it's going to have a conservative bent to it. But the Fox News still covers many articles that I feel like they spend a lot of time on, like the victimization of the immigrants coming to the United States, a huge amount of sympathy and empathy for these people who don't have jobs or their countries are in squalor, they're S-hole countries like Donald Trump has said. And so, or the gun debate, sometimes they cover that from a very kind of gun control kind of stance. And I can tell some of the reporters have a little bit of a left-leaning a bias, but of course most of them are more right-wing bias. Of course, Fox and Friends, they're very right-leaning, and they're open about that. Okay, but their news coverage, I think, in part tries to be kind of close to the middle. Whereas MSNBC or CNN or NPR, they're way out there on the left. It's really just totally obvious. We've now looked at the time that they gave the Paul Manafort response to the Greg Craig response. Basically, two similar situations where two men are accused of lying to the FBI, and one of them is a Democrat and one of them is a Republican, and the Republican got so much more airtime in the media rather than the Democrat. So I think it's pretty obvious there's going to be a bias. You know, with media, there's always going to be a bias, and there's not much we can do about that. I just say competition. You know, I like to go to Fox News. I will look up stories, and I have to Google Fox News because Google won't give me those results right at the beginning because I want to ping them. I want to support them because I feel like at least they're leaning a little bit of conservative. And those are the kind of the news stories that I want them to pick to cover. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of news stories that they can cover every day. It's almost limitless. And so I want them to cover, you know, the stories that I'm interested in. The left just loves to cover, you know, victimization. I mean, they love to highlight the victim, and they love to highlight a big government solution. So that gets us back to this Bernie Sanders town hall meeting that this is tonight. And so really, okay, so Bernie Sanders now is 77 years old. All right, he's the longest serving independent member of Congress ever. Well, not such a big deal. And so he was talking about 4 ways that he wants to revitalize the U.S. economy. So revitalize the U.S. economy. I mean, I don't know if he's figured it out yet. And this is really a problem for Bernie Sanders and for all of the Democrats right now. I mean, just statistically, with the economy running well and with the president who's in office and he's going for a second term, any president from either party, to beat that candidate is going to be very, very difficult, even from just a statistical point of view. But Bernie Sanders wants to revitalize the economy. And how is he going to do that? So he wants to increase the minimum wage to $15 by 2024. Well, I've mentioned this before. Let's just look at that. The minimum wage. Why $15 an hour, Bernie? That's kind of low. Why don't we make it $20 an hour? Oh, well, 20, that sounds pretty good, but maybe 30 why don't we make it just $50 an hour? Okay. Of course, we know the reasoning here. If we make the minimum wage $50 an hour, we will eliminate almost all of these jobs. These kind of businesses that use the minimum wage or have low paid, unskilled workers. All right. And if we just pay them $50 an hour, those private corporations and companies or small businesses will not be able to afford them, and the jobs will go away. So you can see the relationship here. Every time we raise the minimum wage, we will eliminate jobs. As simple as that. And then we'll pass that cost on. So for my friend I talked to who owns a Subway, in Lexington, raising the minimum wage has been financially very difficult for him, and he has to raise the prices of his Subway sandwiches. Okay, so the rich people can afford a more expensive Subway sandwich, but the middle class and the poor, this might be more difficult for them. So this cost will be passed along, and many jobs will be eliminated. So I think this is just a terrible idea. I don't think the government should be telling private industry. One of the most important things of these private companies is how much they pay their workers. This is such a terrible idea. But socialism kind of just sounds good on the outside. It kind of sounds good to all of us. Oh, wouldn't it be great if everyone at least made $15 an hour? I think that would be great. But you have to let the market dictate that. Otherwise, you will eliminate jobs. So, terrible idea. Universal health care. Okay, so you can call this whatever you want. Medicare for all, single payer, many different. Why don't we do this? Okay, many different things will happen. Right now, America has the best health care in the world. Why do you think Mick Jagger had his heart worked on in New York City? Oh, not London. Oh, no, he's from England. No, not London. No, America. Okay. Our healthcare system, as mentioned before, is really kind of screwed up. And the more the government gets involved, the more screwed up it gets. Right now, the government controls just about at least half, and with Obamacare, even over half of all the health care provided in the United States. And believe me, it is, being a physician, just from my point of view, is messed things up so bad. We don't have much competition, so there's no encouragement for prices to go low. Obamacare required all of these riders on the health insurance to cover everything under the sun. That drove up costs. Pre-existing conditions was you could not deny somebody for being sick or charging them more. Got to be a problem. And so all these kind of conditions that Obamacare put on drove costs way up. So in order to drive costs down, I hope that the more government can get out of the health insurance industry, the better. Let it be private. Let it be like car insurance, okay? But not make it mandatory. So if you want to self-insure, that's great. I wish we had charity hospitals again. But that has all been squeezed out. So I've talked about EMTALA and how all the government regulations squeezed out all the charity hospitals. Now they're pretty much just not really charity hospitals anymore. They take a lot of government money. Excuse me. So terrible idea. Tuition-free college. Okay, so basically a lot of junior colleges are already tuition-free. Okay, and for lower income people, they pretty much can get not only loans, but grants. Okay, so to pay for colleges. I had a friend, and he went to Yale, and his parents didn't have a whole lot of money. And so Yale knocked off the price, okay? And it was very inexpensive. And then Bernie Sanders wants the creation of millions of jobs in sustainable energy. Okay, these are fake jobs, okay? Sustainable energy. Okay, is that nuclear power? No, they don't like that. It's too close to a nuclear bomb. They're not going to do nuclear power. But this is wind and solar. This is a joke. Right now, even like Germany's spent tons of money on this, and only 10% of their power comes from solar and wind, and they have some of the most high energy costs in the world. You got rid of their nuclear reactors. They're having to buy gas from Russia. Donald has scolded them on that. This is a farce. This is just made up stuff. Okay, solar power and wind power have terrible problems with them. They're very expensive. They're not reliable. You're going to always have to have another source. And so Germany's burning more carbon now than ever because they got rid of their nuclear reactors. Stupid. Let's keep the government out of the energy business. Dumb idea. Bernie Sanders tweets, "Our campaign is about creating a government and economy that work for the many, not just the few. We should not have grotesque levels of wealth inequality in which 3 billionaires own more wealth than the bottom half of the country." Oh, he calls it grotesque. I mean, what? Grotesque? Oh, Bernie, go. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Do you know how many jobs these billionaires have created? Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, the Google boys. Oh, I mean, really? This is, Jeff Bezos. It's just crazy. This socialism is a terrible idea. Look at Venezuela. It starts off really good. You take all this money from capitalism and you give it to a bunch of poor people, and then the politicians are super rich. For example, how did Bernie Sanders make his money? This is an interesting article from Fox News. He reported that he was like one of the poorest, 19th poorest United States senator. The Washington Post reported in 2016. No, since Bernie's been running for president now, he's rich. So he got $500,000 from a book deal, and then no one bought the book. It's a terrible book. But of course, his supporters, they can launder the money and they can just buy a jillion of these books, and Bernie gets the money. So apparently he made $800,000 on that. Bernard has not even released his tax returns. Oh, he says it's going to do it today. Today's April 15. It's tax day. Why didn't he release them earlier? What is going on with him? Oh, man. No, so he's going to release his tax returns. I don't really care about his tax returns, but we know this guy. Some people estimate him to be around $2 million. Okay, wow, he's only making $174,000 a year as a senator, but since he's running for president, he did in 2016, he's got a big name for himself now. Oh, yeah, he made $880,000 off his book deal in 2017. So anyhow, this is such a joke. Okay, These people pretend they care about the poor people, and then they're millionaires. Oh, but Bernie Sanders, I guess, thinks being a millionaire is okay. He said anyone who can write a best-selling book is a millionaire. So that leads me to Michael Knowles. Gave a great, there's a little op-ed in the Daily Wire. He wrote a few days ago, Bernie Sanders exposes socialism. Michael Knowles talks about his book. He had a best-selling book, and he's not a millionaire. Michael Knowles writes, socialism is not about giving away wealth. Socialism is about the acquisition of wealth. It is never about sharing wealth. Sharing wealth is called charity. People who want to share their wealth give money away to charity. They give it a bum on the street. They give it to their church. They give it to a nonprofit organizations and charities. Socialism is about accumulation. It's about the accumulation of wealth and the accumulation of power. It's about saying too many people have too many things out there, or are going to not give anything away, but we're going to take the wealth away from them and concentrate it in the hands of a small number of people, also known as the government. That's socialism. Yeah, look at Bernard going after billionaires. He says that's grotesque. Oh, that wealth that they have is grotesque. Conservatives think that there's some contradiction with millionaire socialists. No, of course, a socialist is going to be a millionaire. All a socialist is concerned with is taking money, bringing in money, and accumulating money. You'll notice most of the people who are pushing socialism are extremely wealthy. Bernard Sanders is a millionaire. All of the leaders of the Democrat Party are millionaires. Hillary Clinton, multi-millionaire. Huge slush funds, and basically used a nonprofit organization as a personal slush fund. How about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? She's just 29 years old. She was a bartender living in her parents' house not 3 years ago. And she's been in government 2 months, and she's already taking $1 million out of her campaign and funneling it to her own uses. She is already embezzling $1 million. She's been in office for 2 months. That's what socialism does. It's about taking in and bringing in. That's not even an irony. We knew it. We know it from the beginning. Okay, continue. I'm quoting from Michael Knowles. This is what Winston Churchill said. He said, quote, socialism is the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy, unquote. It's all about greed. It's not about charity at all. If you like charity, then you give to charity. You actually don't want someone stealing your money because you know that they're not going to put it to nearly as good a use as you're going to put it to. Socialism at no point engages the faculties of charity or empathy or generosity. None of those things. It exclusively engages avarice, greed, and envy and inquisitiveness. The great example Denise D'Souza used to give this example all the time. If I'm walking along the street and I see some bum and he's some degenerate, drug-addled, lazy bum, and I'm eating a sandwich, and he says, hey, can I have that sandwich? I say, here's half my sandwich. Now I'm glad that I've done some charity. I treated you with compassion. You have a gratitude towards me because I've given you a sandwich that I didn't need to give you, and there's a nice moral exchange, and that happened. On the flip side, I'm walking down the street eating my sandwich, and millionaire Bernie Sanders comes up on his white horse, and he points a gun at my head, and he says, quote, give him that sandwich. I say, you give him a sandwich. You're the millionaire. He says, no, you give him your sandwich right now. So I have to give the bum my sandwich. I resent the bum for taking my sandwich. I certainly resent Bernie Sanders for making me do it. The bum isn't grateful to me. He might be grateful, or at least dependent on Bernie Sanders, and he feels entitled to my sandwich. His only attitudes towards me is one of entitlement, as though he deserves my sandwich. It cost Bernie Sanders nothing. That's socialism, and Bernie is exposing it. That is so true. That is so true. Dennis Prager has talked about this. With charity, when we give charity, we give voluntarily from our hearts, not because there's a gun to our head. Socialism and big government and taxes is a gun to our heads, and we've got to give the money. And the thing is when people under socialism, they're not grateful. They just want more and more and more because they've done nothing to deserve or earn it. Charity is something that we can give from our own hearts, and we can give it the way we want to give it, not a faceless bureaucracy. And so the people are more grateful when they receive it. And of course, we feel grateful when we give it. This is how the Savior taught us. This is how the gospel of Jesus Christ works. It works by charity. Yes, so much better than socialism. So Bernie Sanders is a socialist, and he really appeals to a lot of younger people, and they are very idealistic, and it sounds really good on the outside. Everyone gets good health care and all of that. Okay, no, if we have socialized medicine, our health care will go way down. The quality will go way down, and then things will have to be restricted. Okay, there'll be a shortage. All right, because everyone will want to overconsume free health care. The cost will go up, the quality will go down, the lines to see a doctor will go up, the number of people who want to be doctors will go down. Just, look how England has to get a bunch of immigrants to be doctors there because the people in England don't want to do it. Okay, because the pay is too low. So those people come here. I've got an Irish friend. Where is he practicing? In the United States. I've got many friends. The doctor's lounge is filled with people from other countries who come here to work. Or from Cuba. I've got friends from Pakistan. I got friends from Mongolia. You name it. It's just tons of people from other countries come to the United States because being a doctor in the United States, you get paid a lot of money. So guess what? When you pay people a lot of money, the quality of people goes way up. So anyhow, that's why our healthcare is so great. This story from Fox News on Ilhan Omar. She says, I've experienced more direct threats on my life since Trump's tweet of 9/11 video. So this is how they're going to silence us, okay? We can just repeat what Omar has said in the past. She doesn't seem to care about 9/11. Some people did something. It really trivializes 9/11. Donald Trump puts out a little video with her quotes on there and scenes of 9/11 and how we will never forget. Darn right. Okay, Ilhan Omar, she just seems very un-American, or at least on this point, she doesn't seem to care about 9/11. All right, which is, I think, for most Americans, that's a little disturbing. And she's talking about she said, I have experienced an increase in direct threats on my life, many directly referencing or applying to the president's veto. I'd like to know how many I'd like to know the numbers. How many death threats? Okay, President Trump is not espousing any kind of violence. No, not like Bernie Sanders has a worker shoots up Republicans. Okay, so we're going to have listen to what Omar says. Violent crimes and other acts of hate by right-wing extremists and white nationalists are on the ride in this country. Okay, a little typo. And around the world. I don't think so. I disagree. I think she's wrong on that. We can no longer ignore that they're being encouraged by the occupants of the highest office in the land. This is lies. Donald Trump is not inciting violence. I am a Donald Trump supporter. I've been to 2 of his rallies. No, as a matter of fact, they are very peaceful. As a matter of fact, the only people who are full of hate and were kind of violent were the protesters I had to walk by to get into. the to get into the arenas. It's like Michael Knowles was attacked. Some guy had a super soaker, broke into his meeting at giving a talk at UMKC and shot this unknown substance at him. I mean, the police had to knock this guy to the ground and arrest him. I mean, who is full of hatred here? Extremists. Who are the violent people here? There are wacko people on both ends of the spectrum. But I tell you, I am finding I'm not full of hate towards the other side. And yet sometimes people don't even want to talk about politics to me because they get so mad at me. They really get mad. And, to the point of when I wear my Donald Trump shirt, I get cussed out on the streets of Lexington, even when I'm walking with my little boy. People will roll their windows down and just cuss me out. F Trump, is what I mean, just lay it into me. I mean, wow, what bullies. That seems like more like intimidation than anything. This is just made up. Okay, Omar does not want to talk about the issues. She doesn't want to talk about 9/11 and what caused it. No, they want to silence us. And Cortez is jumping on this, and Rashida Tlaib, oh yeah, the three blind mice. I mean, they just love to pile on. They love to silence us. They say that we're inciting violence by just repeating their statements. They say speech is violence. No, this is freedom of speech. So anyhow, for example, this kid, he's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he came up with a no cussing club. He was around some friends at school, and he thought he just didn't like a lot of the language, and he started, he was 14 years old, and he started a no cussing club. Well, this went viral and stuff. So I was listening to an interview of him and his father. Oh, he's had death threats. So with the media now, with the internet, it's so easy to make crazy accusations anonymously against other people. So, I mean, the internet the ability to make violent threats against other people is dramatically increased just by the use of the internet. But studies have shown that white nationalism is not on the rise. Anyhow, the KKK was started by the Democrats and stuff. So, I mean, Ilhan Omar, speaking of white nationalism, the head of the KKK or these other white nationalists, Ilhan Omar is their favorite. They love her. They think that they're saying publicly that she is their favorite politician because she's so anti-Semitic. She has made anti-Jew comments. She hates Israel. And so she wants to boycott Israel. She has supported that. So anyhow, she is really, really silly. Some of my friends just figured out that she said that CAIR, C-A-I-R, the Council of American Islam Relations, that was started after 9/11 because Muslims were being so mistreated. And they thought there was going to be a blowback on Muslims in the United States. Well, President Bush, W. Bush, was really careful about that. And he did not single out the Muslims for the attack on 9/11. Just really focused on the extremists, the Islamists. And that's who we went over and killed in Afghanistan. And so, but CAIR was started even before 9/11. Oh, Omar is so wrong on so many different fronts. Really, she is really in over her head. Well, okay. On better news, Donald Trump's campaign raked in over $30 million in the first quarter, according to Fox News. Woo, that's really good. That's really good. Like I said earlier, this economy keeps up. I think this is going to be great. And I can't wait for Donald Trump to come to Kentucky. Our governor, we have hillbilly days here in Pikeville, Kentucky, It's a festival that we have over a long weekend. It's a blast. The town, this little town, is just packed full of people. It's great. The governor, Matt Bevin, spoke, and these people just shouted him down. They had signs, and they yelled and screamed. And I even heard people at work go, "Oh yeah, Matt Bevin, he's terrible." And you saw that response he gave. That's sad. I mean, I guess that's an open forum here. Little stump speeches, and there's no security, and there's no control. And so when you speak in that kind of environment, just a few hecklers can really ruin your speech. I posted on Facebook how I felt like this was dumb. I mean, we want to have debate. Why silence this guy? Why have a heckler's veto? But this Republican running against Matt Bevin, he reposted that and thought that was really cool. And, so anyhow, this shout down the speaker kind of thing is really dumb. I think it makes you look stupid. And, we have freedom of speech here in America. This is what we really believe in. And so to silence somebody like that is really stupid. And you know what? They're inciting violence. Wow. They're so biased on that. Donald Trump is tweeting a ton this morning. It's great. I want to read a few of these to you. The radical left Democrats will never be satisfied with anything we give them. They will always resist and obstruct. They spied on my campaign. That's in all caps. We will never forget. Then he tweeted also, before Nancy, who has lost all control of Congress and is getting nothing done, decides to defend her leader, Rep. Omar, she should look at the anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and ungrateful U.S. hate statements Omar has made, which is really true. She is out of control except for her control of Nancy. Congress should come back to D.C. now and fix the immigration laws. Fix the immigration laws is in all caps. Mueller and the AG, based on Mueller's findings and great intelligence, have already ruled no collusion, no obstruction. These were crimes committed by Crooked Hillary, the DNC, dirty cops, and others. Investigate the investigators. That's in all caps. As I was watching Fox News this morning, there's even an ad. But I don't know who this guy was on there. There's this ad, and they're trying to raise money. We paid for the full Mueller report. We want to see the whole report. This is so, these people are so full of lies. It's a grand jury protected information, dummy. No, it's illegal to release that kind of information that would incriminate the innocent. Okay, with Russian collusion, there is no indictment. The government decided that there's not enough information to indict. So all of that digging and all of that research, you're not going to just use it for opposition research. Don't you remember? Put the shoe on the other foot. What happened to Bill Clinton? That's one reason why this was protected information, you dummy. Oh well. So sad. Another one from Donald this morning. What do I know about branding? Maybe nothing, but I did become president. But if I were Boeing, I would fix the Boeing 737 MAX, add some additional great features, and rebrand the plane with a new name. No product has suffered like this one, but again, what the hell do I know? So Donald is, I've talked about this thing at length, this Boeing 737 MAX. I mean, it looks like it's totally, I think I was totally right on this. Okay, this was pilot error. They didn't know how to fly the plane. They didn't have to use the software to help fly the plane. These guys are having trouble with the self-stabilizing software. They turned it off, okay? And then guess what? They turned it back on, okay? According to some many pilots, you never do that. So anyhow, I don't know if we're ever going to figure it all out. Hopefully Boeing will get all the data from the plane, but from the black box. But anyhow, it is. I mean, Donald is right that they have hurt Boeing's brand, and the 37 Max, they've really hurt the brand of this plane, the greatest selling plane right now. So anyhow, Airbus is so excited about this. This is really disappointing, but it is what it is. It is interesting to note that Donald, and now what's leaking out is Nancy Pelosi wants to work with Donald on immigration, which is great. They need to sit down and work this out. Mitch McConnell and Nancy and Donald privately need to go sit down and work this out, and then they can do it so Nancy can save face, so she can hate Donald all she wants and save face. But really, that's what needs to happen. Charlie Kirk tweeted, only President Trump could get Nancy Pelosi to admit she doesn't want illegals in her own city. I think Donald is so brilliant with his idea of floating this idea out there that we should put all these illegals coming over the border. In March, we had over 100,000 apprehensions. 100,000 in March alone. Last year, we had only like 300,000 something get arrested for illegally coming in from jumping the border jumpers. Now we've got over 100,000. I mean, good grief. I mean, this is a huge problem. We got to take care of it. Donald is winning on this. Nancy needs to work something out with him, and so they can get some things done here, and not just be #resist. I want to close with a scripture. This is so awesome when the Savior says, when he was asked by the lawyer, tempting him and saying, and this is in Matthew chapter 22, verse 37, Jesus said unto him, thou shalt the lawyer asked in verse 36, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? And 37, Jesus said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. I love that. So listening to a podcast talking about how we need to remember to love God first. Love God with all of our heart, mind, and soul. Our soul and our mind. To learn about God and his characteristics so we could be like him, be like Heavenly Father, to be like Jesus Christ. And so then when we have that love of God, as we love God, we will keep his commandments and will become more like him. And then that love that we get from God, that we've obtained from God, then we can share it with our neighbors. I love that. And we love our neighbors as ourselves. We will love ourselves because we are God's children. If we love God, we will love his children, and we are his children. All of us. All of us. All of us are brothers and sisters. We're all, Heavenly Father is the Father of our spirits. And so that is the kind of love that we can obtain from God, and by keeping his commandments, by thinking of him, by following in God's footsteps. Then with that love, we can love our neighbors. Oh, I love that. That's really great. Something I'm trying to work on. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is Philip Koerper. This is the Philip Koerper Show. Subscribe on iTunes, or watch the video on YouTube. If you got any questions and stuff, or things that you want me to talk about or answer, let me know. You can leave a message at philkoerper.com. You guys have a great day. Thanks.